It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by AgileDad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. Another hot topic that I've been hearing a lot about is strategies for teams to improve their productivity, especially with regard to meetings. I thought it'd be fun to talk about 5 strategies that you can adopt that will dramatically improve what's going on inside of your meetings. Okay. And 5 ways that you can just become more productive in general, I suppose. So, the first thing you have to do is you have to understand not all meetings are productive, and you need to internally as an organization apply a framework that makes it easy for teams to remember what they do when they're at a meeting. So many people have been trained to facilitate. Let's just face it that way, right? A lot of scrum masters, a lot of people have been trained to facilitate, project managers, etc. um, some people have a knack for it, others not so much, right? But this is still a skill that can be learned. So when I'm thinking about this, there are simple framework tools that you can use to help with keeping things on track. And one is OFQ, Objective, Feelings, and Questions. So with OFQ, first you want to state the clear objective for why we're having a meeting. Why are we all here? What are we trying to achieve? What's our goal? Then you need to figure out how people are feeling during the discussion. Are they on board with the direction things are going? Are they feeling stressed or burnt out? Are they totally against what's going on? You have to figure that out. And then finally, make sure to ask at least 3 questions to get everyone involved and to make sure they start sharing ideas. Remember, the goal isn't to be right, it's to spark discussion and uncover gaps or risks. So, a lot of times, getting those discussion balls rolling are going to be the best way for you to do that. So, lots of good information there. Okay, number 2, you need to know how to assess the productivity of your current meetings. So, do your current meetings make sense? All team members, including leaders, managers, directors, should show up with the same mindset and need for continual improvement. But to be more specific, if you and your team want to improve leading meetings, you start asking questions like, can you rate this meeting on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being very productive and engaging, and 1 being not productive at all, and get good ratings? And I think that sometimes the meetings are just humongous, or the wrong people are invited, or you're trying to do too much, bite off too much in one shoe. It's just there's lots of things that could cause this, but you want to make sure that you understand what should be happening in a meeting and that you have a way to assess whether or not that meeting is productive. Okay, number 3. Can you transition some of your meetings asynchronously? So, a lot of companies during COVID figured out, right, how to make adjustments or pivots. But is your meeting informative, right? So, an informative meeting is a meeting that's used to share information about a topic, give an update. These meetings, could be fully canceled, in my opinion. It's easy to inform everyone to keep them up to date. In other ways, you don't need to have a meeting to discuss those things. Then they have what I call opinion meetings. Opinion meetings are meetings to discuss initial opinions, how we feel. Um, these are also great meetings, but sometimes, we can gather that information using a different format. So we don't necessarily have to have a meeting to do that. Once again, it's determining that, yes, sometimes it is appropriate to have a meeting to get a quick response, but most of the time you can get that information without having a formalized meeting. And then there are the decision meetings. These are the ones that you need to make sure you keep doing. So if you think about all the reoccurring meetings that you have and which ones actually, determine decisions that are being made, those are the most critical ones. And those are the ones that you want to make sure you're doing the most often. However, sometimes you'll have, meetings that are decision meetings, and sometimes you can trim those back or scale those back by making sure you have the right roster, the right agenda, the right time box for the meeting. I think you get where I'm going with this, in the right setting, right? You want to create the perfect container. So it's one of those things where you want to make sure you have all the right things in place to really jog it and make it happen. Yes. Okay. So let's move on. Let's go to number 4. So, number 4 is, what conditions need to be met for this to succeed? So, when you start thinking about how to implement something, whether you're just moving meetings around or aiming to make your meetings more productive or just trying to figure out who needs to be there, you need to ask yourself, what are the conditions of satisfaction for this meeting? What are we trying to achieve? And I think that if you lead by example and set proper goals and expectations and reality, then it's going to be easy for people to determine that the meeting was successful. Where if you're flying by the seat of your pants trying to get things done, it's going to be a lot harder for you to understand what's going on. So it's one of these things where you have to really focus in on goals, expectations, and responsibilities. What's the goal for the meeting? What are the roles that are going to be involved? What are the norms? And if you can figure those things out, you can usually come up with a forecast or a set of commitments to say, here's our intentions for the week. You call them weekly commitments, right? Or you could say, here's our kudos, and celebrate every Friday by just announcing the good things, the good news, right? What are our wins, right? And I think that if we do that, it's going to help us really accelerate what we're trying to do. Okay, let's jump to number 5. What are the guidelines and principles you should have or consider during meetings? So, do you have a team working agreement that covers behavior during meetings? Are you being human first and treating everyone with kindness, respect, leading with light and love? Are you staying present in the moment and avoiding distractions? Have you built an environment of psychological safety and trust? Are you being open and honest in your communications with others? For virtual sessions, how about this? Are you keeping your camera on and mic unmuted when feasible? I think that's important because I think that keeping your camera on shows that you're, engaged, that you're in the moment. Are you turning off self view? Are you not multitasking and trying to do other things at the same time? If you think about your behaviors and what you're doing and the behavior that you're asking other people to do, one should feed into the other. You want to make sure that you're soaking up the knowledge of those around you, and you want to make sure you make these meetings and other things productive, but you can't let the outside world push you to the point where you are drowning in the things that you should be doing. So there's 5 tips. I hope that those were helpful. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, don't forget, learn more at AgileDad.com. We would love to hear from you. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.